We're live. Yay. All right. We'll give a little bit for, ooh, shoot, we have 3 viewers right off the bat. That's awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. All right. Hey, welcome to another Dojo Chat. I'm Sensei Mish, and I have r.ray with me. He is on the other side of the states, which is usually the case. Most of the people I talk to are on the East Coast. Thank you for being on the show today.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
And if you're tuning in, let us know who you are and where you're tuning in from. And if you have any questions, comments, do that too. And share. Actually, if you share it, put on hashtag shared. That'll be, I don't know. We might give something away at the end. I don't know. I watched this. Do you know the name Brandon Beliso? Have you heard me mention him before?
I think I've heard you mention him before, but
okay,
I don't know anything about him.
All right, so he's a martial artist. He's a guess an American Kempo guy down in San Francisco. Does LS Management Productions. Lee from Chicago.
Lee.
Hi, Lee. Thank you for tuning in. And so anyway, so he's got he has thrived during the pandemic. Had 2 schools with over 1,000 students, and of course, not being able to teach. So he went. They switched to virtual like right away, and even during like virtual students alone, they had over 6. They got up to about 800 virtual students, maybe 700 virtual students. But then they also started outside classes. And then, of course, when they started being, he totally thrived. Amazing. TJ, how you doing?
Hey, TJ. What's going on, buddy?
So anyway, so I kind of caught on with him. I've known the name for a while, but Dan, my buddy Dan Anderson, he kind of helped him. Brandon helped Dan out with some business stuff because he's one of the basically a business mentor, martial arts business mentor.
Gotcha.
So I took his rotating curriculum course, and now I'm actually part of a monthly mentor program with him. So
very cool.
But and I can't remember why I mentioned his name right away. Oh, that's right. So he has my mind just goes different ways. So
you're all good, man.
We have Howard D. Howdy.
Hey, Howard.
So
one of my students.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah. Him, his wife, and his son, and his son's girlfriend. I will see them all tomorrow when I'm teaching them out of my garage.
Sweet. Awesome. Anyway, so he does a Friday podcast. Used to stream on YouTube and Facebook, but it's only Facebook. He's changed different software programs, so really he's only using Zoom now. But every Friday on Facebook at 11, and so but he does this giveaway at the end, like if you hashtag, if you share the program, if you share that the podcast. And then at the end, he does, he puts all the names that shared it or did it like a hashtag share, and then he gives away. So like,
nice.
30-minute talk with him. He's given away hour talks, different programs that he's had. He's given away those.
That's cool.
Last couple of weeks, he's given away a month worth of the mentor stuff.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, you can always give away something. Dennis, what's up, buddy?
And Young.
You can always give away something for the Year of Trek, and for all you sci-fi guys, and my students are. Quick plug for Mish's other program, Year of Trek.
Yes, I just happen to have a guide right here.
And for you Kyoshu guys, I just happen to have a book right here that I highly recommend.
I have the same book.
Hey, look at that.
That's right. I wrote the book.
And ironically, this was not planned, guys.
That's funny. So you had posted that you actually I guess last week you actually tried one of the neck pinches. Which one did you try? How did it work?
The Miranda episode. I
Okay.
did it from behind. We did it. Oh God, how did I get into it? We were coming off of. We were doing an outside wrist lock drill, and I ended up in a hammer lock.
Okay.
And with the right hand, so my left hand was free, and so normally we'll grab the nose or the top of the forehead and pull them down. And for whatever reason, it just kind of triggered. I'm like, I might be able to do this. Let me figure it out. And I'm like, I think it was this. The book hadn't arrived yet. Not gonna lie, it showed up on Tuesday. I was like, I think it's knowing the points and somewhere around here. You feel that? How about now? How about now? Oh, I got it. So that was my poor Uki Danny, Howard's son, and so my other student that day, Albert, was like, "Well, I want to feel it. Do it to me." Okay. Did it the first time. He's like, "I'm not. It feels like it's a little off. Like you're close, but a little off." So I readjusted because it's weird looking at it from behind points you normally go to from the front. So
right.
A little off. So I did it the second time, and Albert's a big guy from the Bronx, and really big, stocky dude. And he's one of those guys that you really have to dig it in. If it's not level 3 or higher, he's really not going to feel it. Okay. And so I dug it in, and he's going, and same kind of reaction, just that collapse. I'm like, that's cool.
That's really cool.
So then Chris Chu asked me to show it on him, and so I got to play with Chris Chu for a hot minute. So no, it was really cool. I was very excited, and I'm going, oh my God, I got to tell Mish. He's gonna be like, oh yay. And then the book showed up, and I'm going, because my guys are going, what points were you hitting? I'm like, well, I think I hit a small intestine or a stomach. I know there's a large intestine. And I know it's been triple warmer, and man, I don't know. I don't remember exactly where my fingers were. And so I'm flipping through the book when it came in. I'm like, oh, that's exactly it. That was exactly it. Only difference, you're rolling the wrist. I was adding a slight rub into it as well. And that was the only, pretty much other than that, it ended up being the exact same thing. But for those watching at home, don't let all the Star Wars stuff behind me fool you. I am also a Trek, big Trekkie. So it's fun to be able to turn fantasy into reality. Next, I'm going to start working on force choking.
There you go.
Point in time in my life, I want to do something with that. It'll never happen, but a guy's got to have a dream, right?
Yeah. Well, I for the longest time, and I still, even though I'm more of a Star Trek fan than a Star Wars fan, I've always believed that it is totally possible to be a contemporary Jedi.
Okay.
And everything that George and Jack and all the other Q show leaders out there have done, proves it's possible. You just have to focus the right way.
Yeah.
So
it's the right way. It's the right focus, the right intent. That's you think about the duality between the Jedi mindset and the Sith mindset. And when guys go into energy work and they start having that bad intent, that leads to them being hurt, and them having bad ramifications. That energy comes back on them. Go into with good intent, everyone's okay. The Uki's okay. You're okay. It's definitely, it's very important. And you're right. It's very contemporary Jedi.
So I just remembered this. This is funny that this came up. So I can't remember if it was the second or third time that Jack came out here.
Mm-hmm.
But I at one point I was basically giving people Jedi Knight certificates.
Nice.
And so when Jack came out here, I gave him a Jedi Knight certificate, and I was signed by I think Yoda and Mace Windu. I don't know I put it together on the computer.
That's awesome.
Actually, I saw it being sold online for like $40, and I'm like, I have Photoshop. I can totally do that.
Right, Photoshop and a printer. I'm good.
Yeah. So I did that, and I put them in glass frames. I think I gave one. Let's see. I never ended up giving one to George because I just he stopped coming out here, or maybe I stopped getting invited to his stuff. But I gave one to Jack. I gave one to Rick Moneymaker. I gave one to one of my instructors, Jim. I don't know. I gave out a couple others.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So maybe I should just, well, I was thinking maybe I should give out red shirts, but that has the bad connotation.
Yeah, I don't want to. What's this? It's a red shirt. No, run. I don't make it to the end of the podcast. Is that what you're telling me?
One of my favorite memes is it's a picture of Kirk, and he's kind of pointing, and you've got three red shirts in the background, and the caption says, I want you to dig 3 graves over there. I'll tell you why later. That was pretty funny. So,
nice.
Okay. Rob, tell me about yourself.
Sure.
I'm sure that most people who are watching, or maybe some people who don't know, I know you're a big Star Trek fan. We have this awesome virtual relationship, as you put it the other day, going. And I got on your website, which I normally don't do. I usually don't like stalk people, but I got on there, read a little bit, but yeah, go tell me about yourself.
Sure. So I started martial arts when I was 7. I bluntly put, I'm a sexual assault survivor from childhood molestation.
Okay.
And so when at a young age, I've always loved cartoons, still do, in my 40s. And I fell in love with the old school 60s, 70s kung fu movies that would play on the Saturday matinees. You have your cartoon run for you young kids. You'd have your cartoon runs in the morning on Saturday mornings, and about 11 o'clock, you'd have, from America, I think it was the Incredible Hulk TV series, then the Spider-Man TV series, and then it would immediately at noon flip to, unless it was sports, it would flip to Saturday matinee. And a lot of times it was the imported, extremely horribly dubbed kung fu movies from like the Shaw Brothers. And I absolutely fell in love with it. And we moved to Florida in 85, 86. Kung Fu Theater. Yeah. I immediately told my mom, I was like, I really want to do, I've been talking about it for years. I'm like, I want to do martial arts. And so she had found that the closest martial arts school was at a YMCA, is Ben Cohen Karate. It was a Shotokan system. And so I trained there for a couple of years. This was the 80s. There was no kids classes. Yeah. So I'm a very small 7-year-old training in a room full of adults. But I absolutely loved it. Life got in the way. A couple years later, my brother and sister at the time were much younger. And of course, like most kids, it was I want to go, but I don't want to go kind of thing. And so with all that, I skipped a few years. And then by the time I was about 14, 13, 14, I started hanging out with some guys that were doing kickboxing, boxing in their garages, whether it's the dads, uncles. And so from 14 to 16, I tried my hand in a bunch of garage studios, some judo, very, very small amount of Japanese jiu-jitsu, a lot of boxing, a lot of kickboxing. And then 16, I found Pailum Kung Fu, started training in that and did that for 5 years. After that, transitioned over to Wusing Bafa Kung Fu, which is Northern style Shaolin. And all through my time at Pailum, I was learning Yang style Tai Chi and the combative applications. I was learning Qi Gong, all of the Pailum system. And then with Wusing Bafa, I got a lot more weapons and the Northern style Shaolin. In about 2003, I ended up meeting Jeff Moldovan, who is the founder of Fighting Chance Combatives, and immediately connected with him. It was myself and my Kung Fu brother, Justice Maynard. And we were going out to his house in Wekiva. He lived off the Wekiva River in this tiny little cabin, and you have hundreds of acres of woods all around you. And so we were training just like the movies that I loved as a kid. We're training in the dirt. He took a bob that he got from Goodwill, and put PVC pipes for arms and legs and attached Halloween hands to it, put guns in it and knives. And so we had all this strange, weird, grueling training for quite some time. And then through the years, we helped kind of develop the system, keep the evolution going, adding in our elements to it. Jeff had his background is in Pukulan Jimindi Chuan Fa, which is a slot-based kung fu system that he learned in Pennsylvania. And so he taught us some of that. He taught us a bunch of other things that he had been learning. And then, unfortunately, in 2013, he passed away. Had a heart attack in Venezuela, and so we had to get his body back. But that's a whole nother story for a whole nother podcast.
Wow.
But around that time, shortly thereafter, after his passing, I came to meet Jack Hogan. That I met at a seminar, and I was teaching at with him, and it was really cool because I knew who he was a little bit. Kung Fu world, you talk about pressure points, we go, ooh, dim mak, yeah, bad. No, we don't do that. He walked up, and at the end of my hour block, he said, "Hey man, how you doing? Who taught you?" I gave him the rundown. He goes, all right. You know what you're doing? Yeah, I'm teaching people how to disarm guns, man. Like, I've been doing this for a while. And he's like, no, I don't mean that. You're doing some stuff, and I don't think you know what you were doing while you were doing these techniques. Your techniques are great. That's why I'm asking you. I'm lost. He goes, oh, I'm Jack. That's all I got. I'm Jack. Hi, Jack. Good to meet you. And then it dawned on me, I'm like, oh, this is that pressure point guy. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I said, well, what do you think I'm missing? And he goes, well, I'm teaching next. Why don't you come over and I'll show you. Okay. So I walked over. It was myself, Justice, Gerald Carter, and I think one other person. There's like 5 or 6 people teaching at the same time. And for the next hour, Jack took turns between myself and Justice, busting us into the ground, politely so. And I remember the first time he tagged me in lung 5, dropped me. I mean, immediate. I hit the ground and I jumped up and went, oh my God, that was amazing. Show me how you did it. And he said, well, not right now. I was just showing you something. And we spent that entire weekend, this weekend seminar, really late at night, drinking a little bit, not like normal HKI events. And he just sat there with me. And that's when he told me a year later, but he's like, that's because you jumped up and said, show me. And I could see that there was something there, and I wanted to take you under my wing. And so that was when I found out that he had accepted me as a student. Until he passed, I was up in Jacksonville almost every weekend. I was on the phone with him every day, learning about pressure points, energy, how he sees it, his theories of minor, major pressure points. And I would go back and I would add, every time we'd sit down and talk something, I got a really good understanding of it. I'd go back and I'd play with it. I was saying, my guys, all right, I want full resistance. I know no one's ever going to hold a gun like this, or no one's going to ever hold a knife like this, or no one's going to ever really grab you 100% strength. It's not going to happen, but I got to see if this pressure point thing works for me. And the results were amazing. I mean, it was an instantaneous difference between not hitting it, and then hitting it with energy. Added more, and I would call Jack and just be like a kid at Christmas, Jack, I did this, Jack, I did that, Jack, I did this. It just, it was an amazing part of the evolution. And I'm just really thrilled and privileged that I was able to train with all these people I have. What was great about going up to Jacksonville as much with Jack is with Davey living across the street. Davey and I got to become really, really good friends. We're very close. I mean, he's like a brother to me in my eyes. And, I talk to him a couple times a week, and we hang out and talk martial arts, but doesn't dominate the conversation. And he still continues to teach me and grow me. Jack had put me up for the Hall of Fame, U.S. Martial Arts Hall of Fame. I want to say it was the year before he died. And then the year after he had passed, Davey had promoted me to 4th Dan in Rikyo Kempo. And then I just keep learning and growing and getting everything I can from anything I can. I'm saving up and preparing to go up to Canada in March to do a masterclass with Rich Dimitri, who is the founder for Senshido and the study of violence. And I recommend that for anybody. Thestudyofviolence.com, free plug, but great breakdowns on the psychology, as martial artists, we focus on everything, right?
Right.
Oh, I want to hit the guy really hard, or I want to be really relaxed, or I want to do energy, I want to do pressure points. I think martial arts as a whole, we kind of forget about the psychological elements until you meet people like myself and some of our students that have been molested, raped, all that stuff, and you see the psychological differences, or the people that have seen action in the military or police, and they know what that real adrenal response is.
Right.
We forget that there's an aftermath. We plan up to that point and go, this is how I'm going to survive, and then we forget how to avoid it, and we forget what's going to happen after it. And this fills that gap, is masterclass. My guys are probably sitting here shaking their heads when I say this, but I tell people I'm a forever student. I'm that guy that I want to learn and buy more books and meet more people and train with more people, because that's how I learn. And I'm the first one to go, hey man, I see what you're doing. I think I have an idea what you're doing. Can you do it to me, please? And we were talking about before we started the show. I want to be this. God, it's such a horrible thing to say. I want to be touched. It hit me, right? Do it to me so I can feel it, because then I understand it, and then my brain processes it in a different way.
No, I totally get it.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm an introvert.
Well, hey, I actually, on the introvert, I was just having a conversation with one of the guys that works in the same office. We're introverts that taught ourselves to be extroverts. Like, I'm the guy that usually will just stand in the corner and watch. I'm just kind of an observer, but but you put me on a floor, even in front of 1,000 people, and I'm just got all my energy out there.
I'm that hybrid. I'm really an extroverted introvert. I taught myself to be introverted, and then it stuck, and I'm reteaching myself to be extroverted. My mom, who I think is watching, or she's supposed to, she would tell people, like, when I was little, my favorite place when we go to McDonald's, favorite place was to sit by the bathroom so I could wave to everybody and shake their hand when they came out of the bathroom, hoping they washed, because I just like meeting people. But that's always been me. I don't mind talking to people, but especially at seminars, I sit back, I watch. Mm-hmm. Part of it's just because it's one of the adult learning principles, is that visual comprehension. And I like I said, I ended up teaching myself to be introverted, because otherwise, when you go, is there anybody got any questions? I'm going, yeah, I got 50. Take everybody else first and hit me last, because that's a whole another hour you're going to talk. But no, that's life. I think everyone changes and evolves, just like your training should.
Yeah. Well, I'm the same when it comes to learning, especially a physical art. I want it to be done on me. I need to. That's how I get that extra understanding. And even with my students, I talk about when I was a taser instructor. My certification is lapsed, but when I teach, especially OC, mm-hmm. It's like, no, you have to. It's about experiencing. You have to experience what's going on, and so when it comes to having a technique done on you, being knocked out, whether it's a no touch or a physical touch, having locks done on you, it's like, no, it's I want to feel it so I can understand the pain, what my body's going through. So when I do it on somebody else, I know what I'm doing. It's that level. It's that level of understanding. And some people are just like, no. But it's like, no. I totally get that.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, especially with locks, right? Locks, pressure points, and no touch, there's a level of sensitivity that you develop from having someone at a higher level of understanding with the technique do it to you. Because too often we get that, I always call it Cedar Feeder. When you're doing a drill with somebody, they're just letting you do it. There's no resistance. Even if it doesn't work, they just kind of go with it because that's what they're supposed to do.
Right.
that's great in the very, very beginning when you're learning something. And all my students that are listening know that we do this. I'll tell them, okay, right now we're gonna do 5 times whatever it is, gun disarm, knife disarm. We're gonna do this 5 times Cedar Feeder. It's just, I'm doing it to remember the mechanical movement. Yeah. Then we go to the next level. Now we're injecting resistance. Then we're injecting chaos. Now we're trying to do a realistic thing where you're screaming and yelling. And I think that for me, that touch skips the rest, because if you don't have it, like I said, you're going to develop bad habits. And I've seen people doing, things to me that are basics, outside wrist lock, finger lock, inside bent elbow wrist lock. You've got these locks that you watch people do, and you're going, you're missing a very important piece. What happened? Well, this is how it's always worked. Why is it not working on you? Because you're not doing it right. Like you get so used to someone doing a bad technique, or allowing it to happen, that there's no correction. But when you have it done to you, you immediately know what it actually is supposed to feel like. So when someone messes up, intentionally, unintentionally, whatever, you can turn it into a teaching point and say, well, wait a minute, hold on, that I'm not feeling it in my wrist like I should, or I'm not feeling it at the knuckle as I should. Tweak it a little bit more. There it is. Got it. My guys in class, I'm constantly hearing that conversation, that back and forth. Nope, yeah. I'm not feeling it. Nope, I'm not feeling it. Oh, there it is. Yep, you got it. And I think that's being able to have that touch and that communication with somebody is incredibly important for your training.
Chad Bailey. Hey, Chad, how you doing?
Chad, one of the greatest human beings I've ever met. I got to put it out there. I met Chad. I've talked to him a little bit on Facebook here and there. I met him at his camp. God, sorry, Chad, if I script the date. February, I think it was. Just one of those people that one of the few people I meet that the energy just immediately sinks. Like, phenomenal practitioner. Absolutely amazing human being. Really like Chad. So, I like a lot of people.
So I met Bram. Bram talks very highly of Chad, and he the first time I ever met Chad was 4 years ago. It was at Bram's at his 65th birthday camp. Mm-hmm. So Chad brought the entire family for a day, and it was a 3-day camp, and it was just like it. So, to support Bram like that, and just being one of the nicest guys you could ever meet was great. And then, of course, he came out this last year. He came out for this last year's camp, came for the entire weekend, brought the entire family. And I can't remember what day it was, but he's like, hey, he says, I bought your book. Can you sign it? I was like,
yeah.
You bought my book? You bought my book. Oh my God. Yeah. It was like, that's awesome. It's like, of course I'll sign it. Absolutely. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Let's see. Young, back in relationship to do it again. He says, I would ask Jack, do that again, please. Okay. Wait, no, I'm ready. Do it again. One more time.
Yeah. There are plenty of times that, and especially the HK guys, when I first started, they can tell you, and I don't care. Lynn Carper helped me out a lot my first year. I always jokingly say Lynn has 2 power levels, 75% and 100. Mm-hmm. There's nothing below that. And so he would show me these techniques, and I have no idea what he's doing. He would say, "Oh, well, remember, this is the small intestine line here, and then the lung line here." I'm going, man, this is my first camp. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Oh, well, here, watch. And it hit me with something, and just like a couple times, never, massively painful. It's completely sarcastic. I several times I would walk away, and I remember he was working the stomach wall. And I went outside to smoke with Jack, and I'm sitting out there smoking. I'm just rubbing my stomach. And he's like, "Are you okay?" And I pull up my shirt, and there's Lynn's fingerprints dug along my abdominal wall. He goes, "Oh yeah, you were working with Lynn Carver. Yeah. Lynn's a good guy, man. Good technique. Yep. He'll hurt you. You should let him." Okay. But yeah, that's. But yeah, Jack. I never had to ask Jack more than Jack knew when I didn't get it. He jokingly told me once, he goes, there's a look in your eye when I did it and you're processing. So I normally do it again. You don't have to ask me. I like watching you squirm. It's old school training, man. I mean, it's stuff you can't do that. Oh, thank you, Chad.
Yeah.
You can't do that old school training anymore. I mean, I grew up in old school training, even in the Kung Fu systems, and you just can't do it.
Jack would tell me that Jack would tell me that I need to be shot or beat in the bat with a baseball bat.
Yeah,
you kind of feel points. So when I met TJ for the first time in Indiana in April, and we were talking, and there are some points that he's point dead on, but then there's others that he's not. So now what was it? I did the menagerie on him. I actually had to put a little bit of energy to get him on the ground though. So, but yeah, so it's all good. It's all good. Now, and when it comes to the old school training, that's an interesting point that you bring up. There's, I was talking with Dan Anderson, I don't know, several months ago. He and I, basically I'm the Uki forum when he has no other Ukis. Especially when COVID was around, because he's like, Mish doesn't give a shit. So I
just fucking hit him. It's fine.
Yeah. So we were talking about because of course my goal is to eventually have a brick and mortar, and I foresee that as a reality in less than 18 months. I think that's an 18-month, within 18 months. But he was talking about if he had a choice when it came to students and teaching and all that kind of stuff, he would have his regular classes that he would just teach, and you pay however much a month, and you go through the cycle, and you learn, and then he would have old school classes.
Yeah.
And it's like, you pay twice as much, and classes are 4 times as long.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, what are we doing today, professor? Today, I think we're going to work on kicks. Yeah, sure. What the front kick. And we're going to start at about 1,000 times. When we get to 1,000, we might go a little bit more. And in between, we might do knuckle push-ups.
Yep.
Oh, and then there is going to be sparring at the end, like the old school.
Oh yeah.
And he says, unfortunately, they're just the clientele for that. It's there, it's out there.
Sure.
But it's just hard to find.
Well, and that's, Jeff was very old school in a lot of his training. When I went through Pilum, my teacher, Scott, phenomenal practitioner. And he was old school because that's how he was trained. So as my mom would attest, I would come home with massive swelling, massive bruises. I'd come home with a couple cracked ribs, broken finger, or a relocated finger that's now taped up. And she's like, "What? Oh my God, what are they doing to you there?" I'm training. I mean, I didn't know any better. And I truly fell in love with it. To me, I have my basic class, which is just my students coming out, regardless of level, teaching techniques, situational stuff. But then I have my advanced guys, the opposite weeks. And so when they come out, we go old school. I mean, we're not doing the hardcore conditioning, but we're definitely, I want you guys going 50% speed power. Then we're going to ramp it up to 65. We're going to ramp it up to 75. And if you don't go home wondering why you hurt all over, I failed. And so we're going to do it twice as hard next week. I mean, that's just, there'd be more lawsuits if I taught the way I wanted to teach than others. But I mean, like with the gun disarm stuff, one of Jeff's favorite things to do. And I do not recommend anyone doing this at home, period, ever. He had because we're all stunt guys, so he had a bored out Beretta, and he would load blanks into it. and that's what we had to disarm and to see if we could. We called it beat the bang. It evolved to just using airsoft, but that was beat the bang and he would, after the second or third time, he would just jokingly say, "Man, I hope I put the right bullets in," because he literally kept the boxes next to each other. And so you really didn't know. I mean, and there was that fear. And so if he and Jeff had trained with of course I'm live and I'm gonna forget the guy's name. Jeff had trained in Jitsu. He'd done several Hatsume Sensei. He did several seminars with him in the 70s. And so he loved the idea of hiding in plain sight. And so we would go out to his place, and it's down a dirt road, and then you have to hop a fence and then go down another dirt road. And we get out there, and we're supposed to meet Jeff at 4:30. Jeff's car's there. We can't find Jeff. He's not in his house. He's not in the river. Oh, he must have gone for a walk. Okay. And so we start training or whatever. We go off to water the plants as it is. And then all of a sudden, and this happened several times, we'd be watering the plants, and all of a sudden we'd have a gun in the back of our head. And he had these old cars that were all he'd used for storage that were motor was shot or whatever. And he'd throw you against it or across the hood and just shove that gun in the back of your head and start screaming at you. And his whole thing was you have to react because if you don't, and that's a real situation, you could be killed. Right. But then we started teaching in the schools and realized you can't do that. Yeah. People don't want that. We did. We loved it. We're like, oh my God. And I'm going, I'm so glad I was peeing because I already peed myself. You realize what your reaction is really going to be, and you start learning that psychology of how to kind of adjust it and change it. But and even Pylum, we had a heavy bag, but we normally use each other. We're doing kicks, right? 1,000 kicks. Cool. So while I'm doing my right and you're doing your right, we're kicking each other in the ribs. Boom, 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 alternating right, left, right, left, right, left. We're doing front kicks. Cool. Push kicks to the stomach, front snap kick to the stomach, inside of the leg. It's that body conditioning mixed with the physical conditioning. And I think to your point, I think there's people that want that until they see what it is. And they're like, I didn't pay for this. This is torture. This is old school, man. I mean, I laugh. Young and I talk about it. I have a steel mahjong in my garage that I still use for body conditioning because Justice and I had done wood mahjongs for arm and leg conditioning to the point where we just weren't bruising. So we built our own steel mahjong, and that's what I still use to this day. I've got my jowl, and I go out there and I'll bang on it and do my energy work and just beat the crap out of my arms and come back in, and it just makes a really satisfying ring. But I've had people come over to the house and go, "You don't hit that." Sure I do. Quick demonstration. Can I? No, you know what? I don't want to hit it. I don't want to hit it. It's steel, right? Yeah. There's black paint on that. Is that rubber? No, it's black paint. It's scrap steel, man. Really? Doesn't that hurt? Yes, it does. That's why I do it. But yeah, I think a lot of people would do that anymore. I mean, it's unfortunate, but I think it'll come back. I mean, it's like the garage dojos. That was not, I'm training this guy in his garage. Oh God, what is he teaching you? He must be a con artist. You got trained at a dojo. Now it's like, where are you training? Oh, it's this dude's house. Awesome. What's he teach you?
Yeah,
it's a lot different.
Well, and it's funny because some of the best classes I've taken and some of the best classes I've taught have been in the garage.
Yep.
And my dojo, it's my garage.
Mm-hmm.
It's I try to paint it and okay. So Dennis says you are not lying.
Nope.
I'll
send it to you when we get off the chat. If you want to post it, you can. It's on my Facebook page. I had a camp one year, and I really don't remember. I think I hit him in 111 or 17. I knocked him out standing up, and he fell into me because I was shifting off we were doing a shift off a jab, and I hooked it and I tapped him in 111 or 17, and he went out. So my friend that was there taking pictures got the perfect shot of as he's going out. Of course, Johnny Quest is standing right behind me. And more than likely, most of you on there watching know Johnny Quest. If you don't, Johnny Quest, that is his real name. Haji is retired and they don't talk anymore. But he's a monster of a man, a sweet giant. But Johnny's like 6'4", 6'5". I mean, he's a big dude. And so I tap him, I hook behind him, And Johnny's going, he's out, he's out, he's out, thinking I'm going to let him go. And I just smack him on his back and continue with the technique. So we have this awesome picture of Dennis knocked out, and his eyes are this big. And if you zoom in over my shoulder, there's a wonderful human being, Chris Norcia, back there, who unfortunately had a really bad sinus infection that day. And so he's just back there pinching his nose with his eyes shut, and it just looks like he's going, oh God, not again. But yeah, Dennis was probably thinking that later that afternoon, because I think I knocked him out again, accidentally. It really wasn't intentional. But he's one of those guys. He's the opposite of TJ. He's just very sensitive to points and energy.
Yeah.
Sorry, I completely overrailed the point. I forgot what we were talking about.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Well,
Sorry,
I have
ADD.
Yeah. Well, usually, like I'll be reading comments and I'll be like, oh, no, I'll get back to that one. Of course, I squirreled and was like, oh, okay, that's related to something previous that we were talking about.
We're talking about dojos in the garage.
Yeah. So that's one thing I find an issue with. Like, I've had a number of students, and I've had 0 students. I have one constant student. That's my the ultimate Uki, Thomas, who is also, he makes me look really good. Like, at first I thought that he was faking on some of the stuff, but it's like, no, he's just sensitive. He's just sensitive.
I think that's why Dennis moved to Jacksonville, so he would stop getting accidentally knocked out when I'm literally doing like 10% no energy. I mean, I'm literally looking away as far as I can as I'm hitting a point, and poor Dennis is just getting woozy or knees buckled, or he's like, I gotta sit down and I don't feel good. Oh crap, revive him.
Yeah. And like, trying to develop the neck pinches. Like, there were some where it's like, there's some that are not in the book.
Yeah.
Just because I've made people sick. And I'm like, not going to put that out there for the public. And there's some, and unfortunately Thomas was, the brunt of that. But I think I've, even though he's sensitive, I think that he's built up a little bit of resilience, because there's some where it's just like, he's been beat on enough that it's like, okay.
Yep.
Get that iron shirt going for him.
But no, I talking about the garage dojos, because I've taught out of commercial schools, and I transitioned out of a commercial school, which was not mine. I just taught out of it. I rented floor space. I do miss what I always called the random walk-ins. The guys would just show up like, hey, I've watched you for a couple classes. I want to jump in. But they wouldn't stay long. And I feel like now teaching at my house, and I've been doing it for 2 years now, I think. I gain students, a lot more word of mouth, but I gain people that actually want to train and learn what we're teaching. And they stay longer. And the people that get used to the heat, I mean, I've got tons of fans. I mean, it's Florida and it's hot and sticky and nasty, but I've got tons of large fans in my garage going at all times. So it's not too bad. But, there's something to be said for the folks that are willing to stick it out for that. And I feel like I always learn more. I mean, I said this during Clay's interview, and I think Gerald's as well. I always learn more from Jack on his patio, whether even when we were training, than I did it at most seminars. And I feel like my students, and they'll probably chime in, but I feel like most of my students, I think they learn more now per class than they did at the commercial schools. There's some things we can't do. Can't do like, situational escapes. You do a disarm, or you get in a situation and I move mats and set mats up like a little maze to make you have to figure out, because you may not have known how you got there, how to get out of there. Right. So there's some of the drills that I've created through the years I can't do in my garage, but other than that, technique wise, all my neighbors, I got one of my neighbors. I live in a cul-de-sac. He lives on the far end. He mows his yard. My class is 12 to 2. He mows his yard, trims it, does the whole thing. He's done by 11:45, 12:15 on the dime every Sunday. He's outside towards the end of his driveway, smoking a cigarette, watching my class. He says it's his afternoon enjoyment. He goes, I don't really watch TV. I love watching you beat the crap out of your students, though. He's like, it's super entertaining. I'm like, you can always join. He's like, no. No, I'm good. I just like watching it. So helps if you have a neighbor that doesn't like you to watch you start training people, and you're, oh, maybe I shouldn't mess with that guy.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I would now I have an air conditioning unit. I have a heater unit. I usually keep the garage door down. It's locked now because I actually have a side door that I installed. So it's actually more dojo like than garage like. I've tried to create that because I've found that I've had the opposite. I just, people find out, oh, the school isn't in a strip mall, it's at your home. Trust me, my school, my dojo is probably better than some of the schools at a strip mall.
Yeah.
But they're just not there. The students that I get though, they do stay for longer. They're more kind of that hardcore. I've gotten, I've taught some of the kids in the neighborhood. Of course, they're grown and they become teenagers and they don't want to do it anymore. And that's, I'm good with that.
It's life.
I did have a neighbor. He lived across the street from me who, when I had the garage door open in the summer, he's like, I love watching your classes because it just seems like you're keeping the neighborhood that much safer.
Yeah.
And when I used to work for a security company where I was did patrol. And so I would just, sometimes on break, I'd park the car in front of the house. If my district was, around my house, or if it was during the day and I was just, I had like just a couple of places to hit, then I would just, hang out at home and, hit those places. So, the presence was there. And really, I think, and I don't know if it was malicious or not, or if it was just kids being stupid, but the only thing that's really ever happened here is I had an older Subaru that somebody threw the neighbor's mailbox into the back and broke the window.
Holy crap.
But it was one of those where it's like, I just chalk it up to just people being stupid and not knowing who I am. But it's, I've been here we've been in the house 2004. And that's the only issue we've ever had. And it was funny because when I moved in, the guy directly across the street, he tells me, he says, we were unpacking, he goes, make sure you close your garage door because shit will get stolen out of there. And I'm like, what neighborhood did I move into?
Right.
Yeah.
I swear I checked the crime report.
Never had that happen, But it does help to have the garage door open and you're playing with guns and knives and swords.
Oh, yes.
And, you gotta put a police style patrol car sometimes parked out front.
Right.
People are like, I don't know.
I will say that is the biggest plus. And I'll explain what I'm about to say in a second. The biggest plus is I've never had the SWAT called to my house.
Okay.
I've had it at 2 commercial schools. We used to have a school in downtown Orlando when Jeff was alive. Okay. We were doing a seminar and we had everyone, they lined their cars up and we were doing this anti-carjacking techniques. And we were using blue guns, we had blue and yellow and, and literally it's every car is perfectly lined up in this yard. Well, someone saw us doing this and they called SWAT. So we had Orlando SWAT close the road. And everyone had hands up on the ground. What's going on? And then we thought that was a one-off. It's never going to happen again. Fast forward, I want to say it was 2014, if I remember correctly. I had an opportunity to go up to the Pentagon to talk to them about the system. And so I'm taking all these photos and prep for finishing up my marketing material for them. And so we got to the front, and one of my female students at the time, I said, listen, you picture you getting carjacked. I don't want anyone to pull a gun out right now. I want you to oppose you guys. I'm gonna figure out the 4 or 5 pictures I want to take from different angles. I'm gonna get them really quick and we're gone. So got everybody posed, looked at the road, because we're on a main road right there. I'm like, okay, there is no cars. Here we go. And 3, 2, 1, click, 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 click. Perfect. Let's go inside. Justice was the bad guy, so he puts the gun back in his pocket. We go inside. We start talking. I'm teaching a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna go in the back with another of my students, and we're gonna do another photo shoot. And out of nowhere, this truck with limo tent windows pulls up, and we all stop. We all kind of look at it, like, oh, maybe he's just looking for directions. He's lost. All right, no big deal. We go back taking pictures. This dude jumps out, and he's wearing a bowling shirt and shorts, and he's screaming, "Stop! Stop! 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 They called the cops, man! Stop! Stop! Stop!" What the hell is he talking about? Like, what do you mean they called? What are you talking about? He goes, "They called the cops, man. They called the cops." I'm like, "Are you lost? What are you talking about?" He looks down and goes, "Oh," pulls his badge out. He was a detective for Seminole County. And he's going, "They called the cops. SWAT is being mobilized." Oh, and all of a sudden, we, immediate reaction, because I train my guys to do this. The guns go off to the side. We're holding it by the slide. There's a knife involved. They're holding it by the tip. He's like, "That's fine. It's fine. Put it inside. Put it inside. It's cool. It's cool. Don't worry about it." Oh, my God. And so you hear him on his radio. He goes, stand down. False call. False call. And you hear people come back. He's like, "No, stand down. I'm on site." Da, da, da. And so a few minutes later, one of the Seminole County sheriff's trucks is, blowing code. The blue lights come flying to the back. And it's a buddy of mine I've known for years. He gets out and he starts laughing. He goes, "I knew it was going to be you." So they had, when we counted, they had the helicopter was already overhead. We had 17 patrol cars blowing past the school. And it was some old random lady that was at the gas station across the way that said that there was a hostage situation happening at this martial arts school. And so they mobilized everybody. I don't have that happen at my house.
Yeah.
I don't have people go, "Rob's teaching again, call SWAT." It's like, "Oh, cool, we're good."
Yeah. That's funny. That's funny.
In the moment I was pissed, but in hindsight, I'm like, it's good publicity. I had a couple of cops train with me for a little bit after that. Like, "Well, what do you do?" "Oh, let me show you."
There you go. So TJ's hearing both of you talking about home dojos being successful gives me hope, since that's how I'm initially starting my school. Thanks for the confidence.
Absolutely, TJ. You're a phenomenal teacher, man.
You got to start. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
There's. Like you had mentioned, you rented space in a school. There's a before we went live, when we were talking about, or no. Maybe it wasn't before we went live. Maybe it was after we went live. The mentor program. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, it was after.
Whenever we talked about
I think.
So the mentor program that I'm part of, my accountability buddy, she has a school down in Austin, Texas. Mm-hmm. And she rented space in a MMA gym. Yeah. And finally just was like, okay, I need to, because she really didn't have a garage to play out of. So, but it's all about how you want to start, That's it. Some people just like, okay, we're just going to spend all the money and open up a school. I've had businesses I've owned and run personally. Mm-hmm. I enjoy working for myself instead of somebody else. You can never become rich working for somebody else. And so, because I want this to be my retirement and my ultimate dream, even though people are like, "You don't want the overhead, stay at the house," all that kind of stuff. It's like, city ordinance actually says I can't have a dojo at my house.
It's a personal gym. It's not a dojo.
I can have a home-based business, but it cannot be a martial arts school. So
the insurance company's probably mad too.
Oh, the insurance company doesn't care.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, it's funny because the place I get my homeowner's insurance and my car insurance from, they're like, "Oh, you do this? Well, here, let's quote you on see, do this big bundle. I'll save you some money." And I was like, "Okay, well, this is, here's my business, this is what I do." And he's like, "Oh, here's the quote." And it was like, I don't know, $2,000 a year or some crazy number. And I'm like, I spend, at the time it was $450. I was like, I spend $450 a year, fully covered for everything I do. And they're like, seriously? It's like, yep. I mean, now it's gone up to $550, but you know, it's been a while. And they're like, and it's like, okay, well, you stick with that. You stick with that company.
Don't change anything.
Yeah. So, yeah. So it's, I mean, even when you, not martial arts based, but, you know, when you look at some of the big successful companies, they all started in a garage.
Yeah.
Apple started in a garage. HP started in a garage. Jeff Bezos actually said he purposely started Amazon in his garage so he could say that he started the business in his garage. So I don't know. You know, like I was saying, I want this to be successful. You know, having owned businesses before and running businesses where I made my mistakes, and I know I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to fail at different things running this, but this has to be successful for me. So that's why I'm starting small.
Yeah.
Now I'm pushing myself a little bit more now than I did in the past, because I'm just getting to that point where I just don't want to work for somebody. I got to be me, because all these seminars coming up. Okay. And getting time off is insane. Like, I wouldn't want to close the school. Okay, I'm going to be closed because I'm going to be in Indiana, or I'm closing down because I'm going to be in Florida. It's because, you know, there's a solution for that. That's why you have student instructors, or, you know, but right now when it comes to, and I don't know how Florida is out here, like, businesses have, you know, need work signs all over the place.
Yeah. No, we got it. We're the same.
Like, it's incredible. There's a Chipotle that I go to on a regular basis that sometimes they will close at a certain time. They'll close early or open late because they don't have enough staff.
Yeah.
We're the same way at the hospital. We don't have enough staff. We still have guaranteed vacation that we can, you know, that we have a guaranteed vacation time that, regardless of staffing or not, people will work overtime so you can have your time off. But you only get one of those every 6 months. One. So, like, for me, but see, I've been there so long, and I have so much paid time off built up, that if I don't use it, I lose it. So it's one of those where they have to give me the time off. So I am sitting kind of nice, you know, Indiana coming up. If I don't take a week off and go to Indiana, I start not accruing time. So I have to burn it. So, because I already used for that section, you know, the way they split up the sections, I'd already used my guaranteed time off for Bram's birthday. So, you know, so it's like, okay, well, if it works out, it's like, no, that's Indiana is about two months afterwards. I'll have it built up again. And then with Jacksonville, I'm really only taking Friday off. So, you know, that's, you know, it's not that bad. But then
it's the same thing. I mean, I with my job, I'm a claims adjuster. So all the seminars are on the weekends. So if anything, I take a Friday off, and I might take a Monday off to handle the hangover. But other than that, I don't take time off, and they'll go, you got to take time off. Well, I don't have anything to do. That's not my problem. Take it off.
Yeah. Well, luckily now, in the last year, it's been a little over a year, I moved into what I call my retirement spot. So I spent 12 years at a hospital fighting with patients, basically, you know, putting all of my years of training to work, even though it wasn't all the time having to do that, but it was, because the goal is to do stuff without touching the person.
Correct.
But
that
there are
doesn't
some,
mean the reality is different.
there's some times where, you have supervisors and managers watching the video going, damn, Mish, that looked cool. I was like, yeah, did you see his legs flopping? I won't tell you how I did that.
Yeah.
You know,
Unless you want to come and pay me $120 a month, and I'll start you off at a white belt and we'll work your way up. It'd be amazing.
Well, I was the department instructor for a long time. And then I had a manager who said, okay, we're going to build an academy, and I want you to do all this different stuff. So I was including modular in there, all the standards, OC, handcuffing. Eventually we added taser. That's how I got my cert. And then conflict communications. I actually used I was trying to utilize the book that Rory Miller wrote. I don't know if you know that name. Yeah,
I do.
And then the manager basically he took all the credit. So I was like, yeah, guess what? I'm not doing this anymore. I'm doing me. Yeah. So when the spot that I'm at opened up, I was like, I am all over that. So now I just do me all the time.
Hey,
because it's a building that has to have security. I just sit at a desk. That's where, I wrote this. Yes, I wrote this on company time. But here's the thing is that it's encouraged. Like the guy before me went back to school.
That's cool.
Yeah, he went back to school, got a computer science degree, and then now he's actually working out of the department that I sit at a desk for.
Oh, that's really cool.
No, I never see him because everybody's working from home. So I really only see 10 people a day. But
necessary.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing that I think a lot of us have that dream and goal. I mean, if I could just teach martial arts full time, and that's my wife will tell you that's my retirement goal too. Mm-hmm. And for me, I wanted to. We've talked about before. I want to have buy 5-6 acres, build a house, and have a standalone dojo. Because in Florida, if I have 5 acres, I can actually have a firearms range on my property.
Sweet.
So kind of see where this is going, especially as an RSO, range safety officer, for those of you who aren't up with the vernacular. So I can have people come out. One of my best friends, Chuck Weiland's r.ray certified firearms instructor and a K licensed instructor in Florida. So he can do G classes, D classes, or armed, unarmed, again, for those that don't know. So we can go out there and do firearms courses and weapons disarms and handcuff, pepper spray, OC. I mean, just you can run the whole gamut. And it's one of the things I love about, especially Sundays, is being able to get up in the morning and go, ooh, my guys are coming over, instead of getting up and going, all right, well, I'm gonna drive 30 minutes to the school and find out if somebody decides they want to show up today or not, and then hang out for an hour.
And that is one of the benefits to having a home dojo, because like I was saying today, working on the car.
Mm-hmm.
Gordon has his own business, but sometimes he has to work on the weekends. And so there's some times where I'll just get a text and be like, I can't come to class, because he's currently the only live regular modular person that comes on Saturdays. So I was like, okay. And sometimes I get the text and sometimes I don't.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'll prepare, I'll go out there, I'll warm, I'll start getting ready. And it's like, okay, well, if he doesn't show up, I've just done my own stuff.
Yeah.
And, but like today, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to be under the truck. And if Gordon stops over, then I'll go clean up. We'll play for 45 minutes. And then I'll get back under the truck for a little bit, and then I'll sit down and talk with Rob for a while. So it's just one of those things where it's like you don't have to drive forever just to have nobody show up, because that can be frustrating. And I've been there, because I've had friends who have had dojos, and like I did when I was part of KI, not Mark's KI, but Evan's KI. Well, Klein was kind of part of that before. But anyway, when I was with Q-Show International, I held I had Q-Show workshops. Actually, they called them study groups.
Okay.
I started calling them workshops because that's essentially kind of what they ended up being. But I drove out to Hillsboro, and from where I am, for those of you who don't know the geography, from where I am out to Hillsboro is almost an hour drive. But I had some good friends that owned a dojo out there, and sometimes it would be just me and Joanne.
Yep.
And sometimes it would be me and other people. And there were some times where it was Uriel and Joanne were out for whatever reason. So I had a key to the dojo, and sometimes it was just me.
Yep.
And it was an hour drive out there.
Hour drive back.
An hour drive back. And I have a 10-minute rule. So, after 10, I'm only going to wait 10 minutes.
Yep.
And now one of the advantages of Joanne and Uriel's school was they had this like truly authentic Mexican restaurant right next door.
There you go.
And every time Klein came out to do a seminar, he goes, "We're going to that Mexican place, right?" I was like, "Hell yeah, of course we're going to go to that Mexican place."
That was a rhetorical question, right? I'm just making sure I understand. Yeah, we had a Korean joint, Korea house. Is not far. Actually, when the original school I was teaching at, owned by the same guy, he moved it to a larger location, equidistant to the Korea house. And whether I had students or not, and in the class, he'd hang out and go, "Cool, let's go eat." And we'd go out and he'd pay, and we would stay at the Korea house for 3-4 hours, eating, drinking, and then drive back home. I mean, that's the one thing I do miss is those areas. But I think there's a duality, right? There's pros and cons to everything. And I think with the commercial dojo, it's the visibility, right? Street visibility.
Yep.
It's people walking by, driving, whatever. There's the sense of separation of home and work.
Right.
But there's the overhead. There's the days that nobody shows up, the months that you're going like I'm pulling out of my own pocket to pay things. When you reverse it and you go home, not as many students, obviously no drive-bys. Your neighbors aren't going to drive by and go, "I think I might want to train in that guy's garage. It's 95 degrees outside. It sounds like fun." Did he just knock that guy out? Yeah, sure, I'll do that. But I think with the home dojo, aside from not traveling, there's a different energy. Because you're inviting people into your home. Mm-hmm. Instead of trying to create a home somewhere else. You're inviting them into your home. And I think that's part of that retention piece, right? As people are feeling that they are part of your family, because they are. I mean, I think all of us that teach, that the students become part of your family. And so that's why there's that disappointment when they leave, even if you understand why. Sometimes you're like, "Oh, thank God," because I really don't want to have to kick you out. But there is that connection. I think having them in your home builds that. Plus, it's nice that if people hear screams at a commercial school, because we were just screaming and yelling, "Give me your fucking money," and shoving guns in people's heads. Commercial school, they're going to call the cops. At my house, my neighbors go, "Oh, must be Sunday." So,
yeah. Well, apparently you're also a good cook.
Yes. Yeah, that's a passion. It's an odd. My great grandmother and both my great grandmother and then my mom's mom, phenomenal cooks, and so COVID really helped me reignite my passion for cooking.
Awesome.
So I've on my Facebook page I randomly post how-to slideshows. So I haven't done the videos yet, and I add in the reality of having kids, because I hate reading the recipe blogs or watching a cooking video and it's like, all you have to do is crack the eggs. See, it's perfect. Add butter. Hold on. I got kids and 3 dogs. That does not work that way. So I think the last one I did, I was cooking steaks. And so it was like, step 1, this, step 2, this, step 3, this, step 4, tell your son for the 3rd time that, he can't be hungry. He just ate starving because he just ate something 30 minutes ago. Step 5, open a beer. Step 6, and then cook. And then step 8, step outside to breathe. and then have your son come out and tell you that he's still starving. Step 9, explain to your daughter that no, you're not having hamburgers and French fries because now we've already started cooking. And breathe. And it's just a picture of me holding a beer, smoking a cigarette, like because that's how I was feeling. I think step 11 was something like, ask yourself, what's that random beeping? Take the steaks out of the oven. Because that's, to me, that's a reality. But no, I love it because it's experimental. And to me, it's the parallels between cooking and martial arts is very similar. People say, well, how much energy did you put into this technique? Or, what all points did you hit or this, that, and the other thing? I may know, I may not. When I cook, and oh God, this was great. Well, what did you do? I took a little of that, and I took a little of that, and I think I added that. Did I add that? I might have added that. Well, how much did you add? Yes. Yes isn't a measurement. Yeah, I know, but I just kind of shook it until it looked right. So I just learned through experimentation. Same thing with pressure points. You figure it out until it works, and then you go, aha, and then you repeat. But yeah, thank you, Howard. I have to have you guys stay after class one of these days for ribs or something. That's the other benefit for having a home dojo for my students is I'll beat the crap out of them and go, hey, you want a beer? I got some food on the grill. Come on in. Let's eat.
There you go. So I don't know who this is. Hi, Rob. Great show.
I don't either. If you're still watching, can you post your name?
Yeah.
I don't know your screen name on YouTube. I'm sorry. Yeah. I as Mish knows, I've been blasting this for everybody to log in. So thank you for watching, guys.
Yeah,
I appreciate
absolutely.
It.
Appreciate the viewership.
I know how to whore myself and cross promote like this amazing book that I'm holding up in my hand. You can get on Amazon. Highly recommend it. Full Focus. There we go. Right there. And also Year of Trek. Because I don't like being the only guy sitting in. Oh, hey, Marilyn. I know who you are. It's one of our long-term students. Marilyn was with us started off with Jeff. She's a fierce woman. She came in kind of timid, and we taught her palm strikes to the face.
Okay.
And it got to a point where the only people that would uki for her in drills was myself or my brother Justice, and we would have to wear the full face mask, like the full clear face mask, doing it. And we'd still walk away with bruises. I mean, I pity anyone that decides they want to pick on Marilyn. I mean, it would be their nose will be behind them. She is a beast. I miss you, Marilyn. I'm glad you're doing well, but yeah, she's a phenomenal lady. Overcame a lot to get there. But a lot of all my students, I'm proud of all my guys. I mean, they're all phenomenal people.
Let me see. I'm going to copy and paste here.
Sure.
So there you go. Promoting the neck pinch. There's the link on Amazon. And then let's go back here. And
yeah, if my guys come in tomorrow, want to see it, I'll have the book obviously sitting. So my guys coming to my class tomorrow can see it. If not, go to Amazon, buy it. It's good.
Yeah. And then another copy and paste. Let's see. Facebook DojoChat, an error occurred. Wait a moment, then try again. Okay.
Well, the joy of Facebook.
Yeah. I am not a Facebook fan at all. So
I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. I've tried. I think I tried to share this once using the browser versus the app on my phone, and it quite literally disappeared. I wrote this funny little blurb just off the cuff and hit share, and it disappeared. I'm like, oh, cool. And I got notice. Oh, there's been an error.
Yeah. So
great.
Yeah, DojoChat on Facebook, it's not sharing the link. Well, actually, wait a minute. Okay, so for those of you on watching on YouTube, the first link is to this book. If you don't already have it, you can check it out. The second link is to this. And when Rob says that he doesn't want to be the only one watching,
it's a joke because people are watching in the replay, and you and I both know that. But it was kind of one of those things.
People are catching it on the replay. but so, and Rob and I were actually joking.
I just sent you the picture a minute ago.
Oh, okay. Rob and I were joking later on after it went live, or after I had finished the live thing. So, Year of Trek, what that is, if you haven't heard me talk about it before, because cross-pollinating my podcast is, I suck at that. So,
about the branding in front.
And this gets into, the whole being a Trekkie thing. So, and this actually goes, it's an interesting story that feeds into this. So in doing research for the neck pinch, I was trying to figure out how many times the neck pinch had actually been used and by who. And for the most part, I don't have an exact number, but when it comes to, because Spock used it quite a bit. And when it comes to non-Vulcans using it, I was able to get, I think, all of them as it was used, but not how many times it has been used. Just that, okay, I know, 7 of 9 used it in this episode, and, whatever. So I had this thought. How long, because of course research takes a long time, but I was like, how long would it take me to watch all of Star Trek to have my answer of how many times the Vulcan neck pinch had been used? So I started looking, it's like, okay, well, let's add up all these different episodes and of all these different shows. And when it came to live action, I came up with a number of 756 live action episodes. And of course there's 13 movies. And I was like, okay, well, if we go, every movie's 2 hours and every episode is roughly 45 minutes, how much does that add up to? And so that adds up to just about 600 hours worth of Star Trek. Well, that's a lot of binge watching.
Yep.
And my wife is kind of interested in Star Trek. My daughter, my youngest child, my daughter, she's actually interested in Star Trek. So she might be able to watch with me, but essentially the binge watching that we watch in the house is whatever my wife has on TV. And most of the shit she watches, I don't like. So this would have to be, I'd have to do this by myself, but I have a 40-hour job. I have a martial arts school.
Yeah.
I have a life, so how am I going to do this? And then I was like, well, I could do it for a year. Like, this is the 55th anniversary of Star Trek. So I could watch all of Star Trek over a period of a year. So then I started figuring, okay, well, how does that break down? And so it came to the magic number of 15 episodes a week. So then I started creating rules, and, and it's like, oh shit, this might actually be a thing. So I was like, okay, well, if I start on September 8th, the actual, birthday of Star Trek, and I go for a year, I could do that. But it can't just be me watching. That wouldn't be fun. Let's get other people involved. And so I decided, well, I'll make a guide, which this is. It's a guide. It actually, it has the dates and what episode you need to watch for the day. And I figured, well, hell, I already do a podcast. Let's challenge myself. I'll do a podcast every day, or at least I'll try and do one every day. And so I'm thinking, and of course, one of the rules is that any new episodes that come out, brand new episodes, you should watch that too.
Yes.
Because you're a good Trekkie. But of course, the first one is a cartoon, and it's not really live action, but I was like, well, shit, I love Lower Decks.
Oh God, it is amazing.
Like, it's an awesome show. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start it early. So just on Thursday, I did my first live my live podcast reviewing an episode. And of course I had done another live one. I think I can't remember what I talked about. Oh, I think I just talked about what we get to look forward to,
Yeah.
And so I don't know, Rob, did you tune into that one? I know you tuned in for the Thursday show.
Yeah. So that the first one I caught on replay.
Okay.
And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna set a reminder to this one. Because I had subscribed, you had talked about during the podcast, so I was subscribing at that point. And then obviously this one I was there because we talked the whole show.
Yeah. So it was, it was me doing a really bad rehash of the episode, but pointing out all the little Easter eggs that I found. And Rob, the only person watching live at the time, of course, is commenting. So we're having this back and forth conversation. I'm talking. He's he's essentially texting, and it was great.
Yeah.
Like for like a first episode, that was like, that's really cool. If we could get more people involved, that would be awesome.
Well, so, it's a great way to introduce people that have never watched Trek, right? Excuse me. They've never watched Trek. It's a great way for them to get into it. Because you don't have to have the background knowledge. You're not walking into a Picard season 2. You're not walking into Discovery and going like, well, I don't know who these people are. I don't know what's going on. You're walking into the beginning, and you were starting at the beginning and you're working your way through. It's the being a white belt in Star Trek, and we're going to work your way up to becoming a black belt. There's a martial arts cross reference there.
Yeah. And so, and like, the way I plan to do it. So like, let's see, the 19th, that's another, Lower Decks.
Yep.
So let's see, let me look at so when we actually get into the year of Trek, when we're actually doing it, we're, Thursday, September 9th, I'll actually be doing 2 podcasts because I don't want, I want one to be dedicated to the year of Trek, and anybody who has not had a chance to watch the new episode of Lower Decks at the time that I'm doing my podcast, it's I don't want spoilers. So I figured, okay, I'll get on. I figured, and when it comes to Star Trek, I could talk forever. So I've limited myself to an hour. So it's really the regular show is only going to be an hour. Unless, of course, I get on some tangent or some really good conversation, but really I want to limit to an hour. And then the review of the new shows, it'll just be however long it is. I think this last one was maybe 20 minutes, because I figure I'll rehash the show a little bit, talk about some of the things I liked, I didn't like. But like with a year of Trek, it's like even though I have watched some Star Trek here and there. In fact, I'm actually keeping myself from watching Star Trek so I can like re-experience, some of these things. So it's going to be one of those where like I'll watch the episode. It's like, of course, I've seen this episode 100 times, but this is what I got out of this episode watching it this time. And
that's the joy of rewatching stuff, and especially when you have any kind of interaction or watching with people at the same exact time. Is you have that you're seeing it from your perspective, they're seeing it from their perspective, and there's things that everyone's going to get out of it different. And so there's that passion. I mean, we can relate back to martial arts. You watch a technique and I watch the exact same technique. I'm going to see something, you're going to see something else. It doesn't mean that we're wrong. It just means we notice something different, a different focal point. So that's how those conversations start. I mean, that's one of the things that, I enjoyed sitting there chatting with you on it, going like, oh, well, yeah, what about this? And Riker stole a show. And, because that's really what it is. And I'm not going to get on spoilers in this. And if you guys want to know what we're talking about, you need to watch Year of Trek, the last episode. But it's enjoyable to be able to actually sit there. I mean, that's why I interact as much as I do on the podcast, DojoChat and stuff. Is because it's good to interact and get that feedback and be a part of it. So you're not just sitting there watching something going, yeah. You're actually going, well, wait a minute, hold on. What are you talking about? And what's this? And what's that? And why do you scream he has LSD or doesn't have LSD? I mean, that's, but then
the question comes up, did he actually say LSD or did he say LDS? Which is a inside Star Trek thing.
Yeah, I will watch that again when we get done with this and we log off after we finish talking. I will go back and I know exactly where that moment is. I will go back to that episode. I will find that moment and I will put on the subtitles to make sure that I am not changing what he's saying in my brain to fit, I will actually put on the subtitles and watch that, and have my wife sitting there going, "What the hell are you doing?" Right. I got Mitch and I were talking about this. So we gotta make sure this is right.
Yeah. Now the other thought. Now as this expands, I considered, having different people on, like, people who regularly tune in. Because honestly, when it comes to the school and like doing it on Thursday, like I don't have any year 2 students right now. So of course actually, I don't think I had anything going on Thursday. So I was like, I'm just going to do it at 5 or 5:30, whatever time it was, because then people on the East Coast can watch. So, it's like, okay, once, more students come up, it might be later and later, but it's like having like, people who are regular contributors to the show be on. So like, I send you a link, you can come on, we'll talk about whatever episodes, or like some new person who's coming in. I actually, and I don't usually pre-plan on stuff. For those of you who've not been on the show, I usually have that talk with the guest of like, I don't pre-plan shit.
We just go off the cuff.
We usually just start talking. I mean, the best pre-plan is basically tell me about yourself.
Yeah.
Or, oh, you have a topic you want to talk about, which we actually haven't gotten to that topic, which is funny.
It's fine. I'll come back for another episode. It's cool.
Absolutely. But essentially the same thing. I talk about whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's and I can't even remember. See, and this is where my brain starts to get fried, because I can't even remember what I was talking about, though I was in the middle of talking about it.
You're good. You were talking about the show, bringing people on, people that are contributors, new people. I think I think your point was somewhere around the conversations that it creates.
Yeah. But I think it was also time framing, because maybe getting online. Oh, that's where I was going to. Okay. But getting online where it might be super, super late for some people on the East Coast, just because the way, it might have to be at 8 p.m. my time or 9 p.m. my time. But so, I don't know if you follow this guy on YouTube. I don't think he has a Facebook, but he has an Instagram. I follow him on Instagram, but mainly it's YouTube. But he goes by Star Wars Theory. He's a guy out of British Columbia.
Yeah.
I don't know what his real name is, but this guy is like, Star Wars hit him at a very hard time in his life, and just I think he said he started the show. I saw some interview with him. He started the show because he's like, oh, I have a theory about this, and it blew up. And 5 years later, I think it's been 5 years, like he's doing what he loves. He sits and talks about Star Wars every day.
Oh yeah. And he's going out to cons and stuff doing it too.
Yeah. And so when he does, Bad Batch, Mandalorian, these new shows, which I kind of, if you guys haven't watched the last episode of Bad Batch, which is actually, I kind of see as Clone Wars season 8.
Yeah.
Go Dave Filoni. But what he'll do is he'll do live watch parties.
Yep.
And so I've even thought about, if I do get that, I don't expect, I would hope that I would have more followers than just you, gotta promote it. I actually have joined some Facebook Star Wars or Star Trek groups to, kind of build a base before I start promoting myself. Because I do, it is fun having Star Trek arguments with other geeks when you're right and you're like, how long have you been a Trekkie? Really? Do you really? I have forgotten more dumb shit trivia than you have even remembered yet. Yeah.
And that's the one thing I will say with Star Wars, not to veer off your point. That's the hardest part about having all those, and you got the Kelvin verse and everything else in Star Trek. we have the legacy and stuff that became cemented, even canon from Lucas that got rewritten because of Disney. And so when we started having those arguments, one of the favorite things, one of my favorite questions somebody asked me one day was, how old are you? Because that helps me understand where your foundation is in this argument.
Oh,
and I was absolutely. Like, that's brilliant, but that shouldn't matter. I'm right. You're wrong. But,
yeah, but I mean, if there is a huge following, then doing like for the new episodes, doing a watch party, like watching it at midnight, I think that would be fantastic, and just doing a live watch party.
Oh yeah.
So
it's the joy of the new world, man. I mean, it goes back to what we were talking about with the martial arts training, with doing everything virtual. I've had people ask me about that. I don't know how to do that virtual. That doesn't make sense to me. People are blowing it up. People are doing amazing with it. Nelson Pinto, FMA guy that I know, he's one of those guys that I'm trying to reach out to me like, okay, let's talk about this. There might be something there, but it translates into more and more people are enjoying podcasts. This is the new TV. There's nothing to watch on TV. I see the same things on Netflix and Hulu and everything. So let me jump on YouTube. Let me find something new. Let me see a new podcast. So it's
Roger. And like I was saying earlier, Brandon Beliso, I mean, he transitioned, and he took his two schools that had over 1,000 students. Half of them dropped off, but when he went to virtual, he was able to gain back most of them, and some new. Hell, he was advertising in Seattle, and he never changed his prices.
Yeah.
So he's still charging $200 some a month for virtual classes, and like for me with his rotating curriculum, I believed in rotating curriculum from the beginning. I just didn't know where or how to start. I just didn't have that foundation. And so I really attribute Brandon for giving me that foundation. And he, of course, I can't remember the guy's name. He's the hyper dude, hyper training or whatever the hell he calls it. Roland something or other. I can't remember his name. Anyway, martial arts guy. He's got some hyper program that he pushes. Anyway, so he got him. He was like, you really got to do a rotating curriculum. So for me, it's like, okay, well, rebuilding this, basically building a school from basically scratch again.
Yeah.
Reformatting my curriculum so it can be rotating. How do I do modular? Like that was the one big thing. It's like, I have an idea, but how do I do it? And how do I teach it? How do I teach knife work?
Right.
Virtually.
And that's the same problem I run into with gun disarms and knife work that we do. I can do the empty hand. I'm not worried about that. But doing weapon disarms and going, okay, well, guys got a gun to your head, and I'm gonna do it from 15 different angles and then try and get close up. So I mean, there's got to be. I've got ideas, but
yeah, and so what I did is I actually wrote out a curriculum, because the rotating curriculum is based off of, it's a 4-month. Every belt is 4 months, so you have 3 months worth of or 6 weeks worth of stripes. You have 6 stripes, 2 weeks each. So there's 3 months worth of that, and then the last month is review. So I built this curriculum for modular, thinking modular will just be a belt within the system instead of spreading it out. So I actually started advertising. I was like, okay, I charge $125 a month for training 2 times a week. I was like, I'll charge $50. You go through. Young took part in it. I got some guy from Connecticut. He had done modern harness for a little bit.
Okay.
He went all the way through the program. Of course, there were some classes missed here and there, even on my part, just because life happens.
Yep.
But he did. He went all the way through it. I got another guy from Jacksonville. He went through it. And hopefully when I go out to Jacksonville, I'll get to, I told him I'm heading out, that we should at least see each other live.
Yeah.
But he went through it. Got somebody else to go through it. Did I? I mean, it wasn't very many people, but basically I turned it into a learning. It's like, look, I think I know what I'm doing, but we're going to teach this, this very hands-on, touch is important. Having that feedback from your partner is important, but we're going to do this virtually and we're going to figure out. And I have some ideas on how to teach this and how you can learn, but I don't know. So this is going to be a learning process for both of us. And so, I would go into the class. Okay, here's the topic for today. This is what we're going to do. And this is how I want to present the information. Are you guys going to be able to assimilate that information? And then we took, and then basically the last 5 to 10 minutes of the class was them giving me feedback. Nice. No, that didn't work. Or, gosh, that was so great. I think I grabbed the concepts the way that you presented the information. And, so essentially I teach what Bram teaches, but I teach it differently now than he teaches. I actually have broken it down so much that, that it's the same. It's the same. It's basically, it's the same when it ends up, at the end, you get the same result, but it's, I think I could teach it to anybody. The way I was able to break it down and basically live test it.
Yeah.
Like virtual live action or, live, in person, I could teach anybody and they'd be able to pick it up really quick.
See, and
even young.
Yeah, it was a really good class. Yeah.
Good classes. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to pick your brain on that. Cause that's something that, only teaching out of my garage, but I have people that have reached out to me across the country. At one point we had schools in California, Maryland, Venezuela, Philippines, some guys in Russia, and then after Jeff died, that all kind of imploded. But I still have people that reach out like, hey, do you have anybody in Montana? No. Can you do something virtual? No, I don't. But yeah, to be able to find a way to figure out how to break it down, even if it's like you're saying, hey, $50 a month, this is a trial and error thing. We're going to figure it out as we go.
Yeah.
That's it's a new world for martial arts. At some point, it scares me, but at some point, it's going to be 90% virtual and 10% physical. And people are going to talk about old school martial arts just being the going to the school and training and not the training that we talk about when we talk about old school.
Well, I think one of the cool things that has come from me basically just saying, okay, I'm going to do this. And even if it's virtual, I'm still going to do this. Mm-hmm. I have an older student that, lived in the neighborhood. He's now a Marine in Okinawa, and twice a week, right now his phone's broken, so he can't Zoom right now, but we have class twice a week. I'm in Vancouver, US, and he's in Okinawa. And so I'm teaching Kempo. Essentially, I'm teaching Okinawan Kempo
in Okinawa.
And I'm not even there.
Just for that alone, in some systems, you automatically get triple ranked movement.
Yeah, I guess. I'll have to talk to Master Ken about getting that 11th stripe.
Right?
Yeah. But I just the concept of that, it's like, that's just so awesome.
Yeah.
And I have another student in South Carolina. We meet twice a week, just regular classes. And it's, and because he was a previous student as well, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to test you out. And it had been a long time since he had trained anyway, but it's like, okay, I'm going to test you out on some of these thoughts that I have on how to teach what I'm teaching virtually.
Right.
And how to teach along the lines of my rotating curriculum. Am I putting too much information or am I not putting enough? So both of these guys have been really good test dummies for me. And, I give a lot of credit to Young and Chris and Corey and, actually Gordon. that was the other guy. He actually started when the whole 4-month program was over. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to offer virtual and in person. And since Gordon is in person, he lives in Vancouver. So he starts coming over every Saturday, and we just, we took off from there. But see, that also set me up to create a basic program. So if somebody just wants modular, if that's just what they want to do, it's like, okay, well, what kind of program can I put together where it's like, okay, well, here's the basic course. And then I have this, which meets twice a week for 6 weeks. And then after that, we have a once a week course. So basically it's like, okay, that's kind of your primer. And then you can go in, and even if I'm covering something that you have no clue about, you still have some foundation and understand some terminology and concepts that you'll catch on. So, yeah.
That is awesome. Yeah, like I said, especially when you come down in October, or if we talk in between now and then, which I know we will.
Oh, absolutely.
Pick your brain more about that.
Absolutely. So, okay. We're at an hour, 40 minutes. Done a lot of talking.
We didn't even hit what we were going to talk about.
I know.
Before the show, to be honest with you guys, we even both said, like, this is what we're the idea, but we're probably not going to get to it because it's just riffing.
But it's also a topic that to kind of give you guys a primer, and the reason I bring up the hour and 41 minutes is because I have to get back to working on a truck that I've been working on, and it's been so hot. I got to do it early. I don't even know what the temperature is out now, but I also got to buy parts at a place that closes at 3 my time. But the topic he wanted to talk about, which we will talk about, maybe we'll have you on in the next couple of weeks, is basically putting Q-Show into anything. And I'm all about that. Q-Show is so, Remy Priestess used to say of Modern Arnis, I can't even remember the quote. Make it your own art.
Yeah.
I'm totally misquoting him. That's how fried my brain is. But it's one of those where it's like Kyushu Jitsu.
Yep.
Take it and make it your own. Like, add it in. It's not just an Okinawan Kempo thing. It's not just a Shaolin Kempo thing. Those may have been the origins, but if you understand the concepts and principles of Kyusho, just even on a basic level, you can put it in anything. You can put it in Star Trek.
Yep. That's it. Make fantasy reality.
So yeah. So we'll definitely talk about that next time. And actually talk about some of the stuff that we've done, aside of the neck pinch and other stuff. But, all right. So, let's see. For all of you guys who have hung out, thank you so much. Thank you for commenting and feeding us content. For some reason, the dojo, the Facebook link, those 2 links, buy the book. I'm actually going to bring books with me, just in case. If you buy a book, yes, I'll sign it. I don't charge a signature fee. I am not that good. Well, I am, but I'm not that.
Not that egotistical.
I'm trying to be humble. Chad, thanks, you, Chad, for hanging out for all that time. Anyway,
guys, check out Year of Trek. Check out Kyushu Corner.
Got Kyushu Corner, Year of Trek. I don't know if I put links to your school in the comments, but check. Yeah, I think that was the first one that I actually did pre. I usually do that late.
Yeah.
Actually, sometimes I talk and I forget to actually put it. I think that's why I put it on there. So check out Rob's stuff. If you haven't shared, liked, subscribed, all that really cool social media stuff, do that. And until the next episode, till next Saturday, or actually next Thursday. So Year of Trek, Thursday, I don't know what time yet, probably 5 p.m. my time, second episode of Lower Decks. And then I don't know what I have planned for next Saturday, but there'll be another Dojo Chat. I might have somebody on. It might just be me. I might have Rob back. Don't know. We'll see. Okay. All right. So thank you all. Loved you all. Be safe. And we'll see you on the next episode.